Means we're putting back together and we're fixing without parts from Bugatti, and we've already done and accomplished what we were told couldn't be done, which is give us confidence.
And no disrespect to Mat Armstrong, I think he's doing amazing things. He's a great guy and all of that. Can't do that in a garage. There's just a few places in the world with the right equipment and only a few people in the world with the right training to be able to do that.
Mat Armstrong has spent years rebuilding some of the most expensive and technically complex cars on the planet. Lamborghinis, Ferraris, rare limited production machines that most people will never even see in real life. He has poured hundreds of thousands of pounds into genuine parts, documented every stage of the process, and generated tens of millions of views for the very brands whose cars he was bringing back to life. And yet, despite all of that, those brands never reached out. No acknowledgement, no collaboration, not even a simple thank you. Then one morning, something unexpected arrived at his workshop, a package. But it did not come from Lamborghini. It did not come from Ferrari. It came from Koenigsegg, a brand whose cars Mat had never owned, never rebuilt, and never even worked on. So the question immediately becomes unavoidable. Why them? Why now? And what does the Bugatti situation have to do with any of it? The package that changed everything. To understand why this moment mattered, you have to start with the package itself. Because, on the surface, it seemed small, almost insignificant. Mat Armstrong is not someone who gets easily surprised. He has worked on hypercars worth more than most houses, dismantled engines most technicians would not attempt to touch, and built an entire career around doing the unexpected with tools, cameras, and an almost unreasonable level of commitment. But this was different. The package came from Ängelholm, Sweden, the home of Koenigsegg's factory, where some of the most technically ambitious cars ever built are designed, assembled, and tested by a team small enough that every person inside it knows every other person by name. Inside were official branded items, hoodies, t-shirts, premium merchandise. Not mass-produced items you find online, but the kind that typically only exist within the brand's inner circle, gifted to partners and people Koenigsegg has decided to let inside the boundary of the brand. That detail matters more than it seems. Koenigsegg produces between 20 and 35 cars per year. That is not a typo. While global manufacturers produce vehicles every few seconds, Koenigsegg builds a handful annually, each assembled almost entirely by hand, each representing a specific engineering intention pushed to a limit most manufacturers never attempt. Their products are rare. Their brand is controlled. Their interactions are intentional. They do not send out influencer packages as a volume strategy. Every outreach is deliberate. When Koenigsegg contacts someone, it is because someone inside that company made a conscious decision to do so, which means this was not random. It was deliberate. And then there was the note. Handwritten. Simple, but precise. It did not ask for anything. It did not promote anything. It pointed Mat toward specific videos and content the brand had produced, which means something important had already happened before the package was ever sealed and posted. Someone inside Koenigsegg had been watching him, not casually, with enough attention to form an opinion, identify an alignment, and then act on it. That is the part that changes the entire meaning of the gesture. What the Bugatti drama revealed. The timing of this moment is not accidental, because just before this package arrived, something else had shaken the automotive world. The Bugatti situation.
So it's not insured, he had to spend $2 million cash, and now we're in the situation that we can't get parts for.
Whoa, that's what you're here for.
Bugatti does not sell cars the way most brands do. Ownership is curated. The company maintains influence over who can buy, who can resell, and who can even be considered. Mechanisms like the right of first refusal allow the brand to intercept transactions they consider incompatible with their image. For decades, that model worked. The exclusivity fed the mythology. The mythology fed the price. The price fed the exclusivity. A closed loop, perfectly maintained. But the world changed. Independent automotive creators emerged with audiences of millions who could tell a story about a car more effectively, more personally, and more credibly than any official campaign. Not because of bigger budgets, because they had something official channels can never manufacture: authenticity. And what the Bugatti situation revealed was how certain legacy brands responded to that shift. Not with partnership, not with recognition, but with resistance. For Mat Armstrong, this was not theoretical. He had lived it. He purchased and rebuilt a Lamborghini Reventon, one of only 21 ever made, investing enormous time, money, and documented effort. Millions of people watched and came away with a deeper understanding of what that car actually was beneath its surface. Lamborghini's response? Nothing. The pattern repeated with Ferrari. Mat was rebuilding a Ferrari 296 GTB, a complex hybrid powertrain system that even factory-certified technicians struggle with, doing it publicly and with obvious respect. Again, silence. The Bugatti situation confirmed what that silence had always suggested. These brands had made a choice. Independent creators, no matter how skilled or how large their reach, were not part of the picture they wanted to draw. Certain brands do not see independent creators as partners. They see them as risks. Why Koenigsegg moved differently? Koenigsegg does not operate that way. Christian von Koenigsegg founded the company in 1994 at just 22 years old, after a childhood film planted the idea of building the world's best car so firmly in his mind, he never let go of it. No inherited empire, no family legacy in manufacturing, just a vision and the discipline to turn it into something real. What followed was not just a company. It was an engineering philosophy. Koenigsegg developed technologies that reshaped the boundaries of performance. The free valve system eliminated the traditional camshaft entirely. The light-speed transmission introduced gear-shifting capability that required rethinking what transmission architecture could accomplish. Cars like the Jesko Absolute pushed theoretical top speed into territory most racing programs never attempt. But more importantly, Koenigsegg never built its identity on mystery. It built it on understanding. Christian breaks down engineering decisions with the patience of someone who genuinely wants the listener to grasp what he is describing. He does not protect the engineering through opacity. He protects it through excellence. Opacity says, "You cannot understand this, so do not try." Excellence says, "Understand exactly what this is, and then tell me another manufacturer who has done the same." When you compare that mindset to what Mat Armstrong does, the alignment becomes obvious. Mat does not just showcase cars, he dissects them, he explains them. His audience watches not just for entertainment, but to understand how things work, why decisions were made, what engineering actually looks like when the panels come off. That is exactly the audience Koenigsegg wants. Not passive admirers. Informed ones. The contrast that exposed everything. What makes this story powerful is not just what Koenigsegg did, it is what the other brands did not do. Mat Armstrong has done more to humanize high-performance vehicles for a mainstream audience than most official marketing campaigns achieve in years. He brought those cars into ordinary life without diminishing them. He made them more interesting, not less. And yet, those efforts were ignored. Not because they lacked value, but because they conflicted with the image those brands needed to maintain. For Lamborghini and Ferrari, identity is built on mystique. The cars are meant to feel distant, almost mythical. When someone dismantles one in a workshop and shows exactly how it works, the mystery transforms. Instead of awe built on distance, it becomes appreciation built on understanding. And for brands whose value depends on the first kind of awe, that transformation is uncomfortable. Koenigsegg does not rely on distance to create its value. It relies on the engineering itself. When someone understands what the free valve system actually does, they do not become less impressed. They become more impressed. Transparency is not a threat to the brand. It is the brand's greatest asset. That is the difference between a brand that needs you to stay at a distance and a brand confident enough to let you come closer. What happens next? The package is not the story. It is the beginning of the story. Koenigsegg is too deliberate for a package to be the end of the gesture. It is an opening move. The first visible point in a sequence that tends to unfold in recognizable stages. The first stage has already happened. Recognition. Contact. A signal that says, "We see what you are doing and consider it worth acknowledging." From brands that have chosen silence as their default, that acknowledgement is actually everything. The second stage is the one people are already anticipating: a factory visit. Koenigsegg's facility in Ängelholm is not a traditional factory. No assembly lines. Small teams of highly skilled engineers building entire cars with personal involvement that most manufacturers abandoned decades ago. Walking through that space would not be a tour. It would be an education, documented by someone with Mat's ability to explain complexity to millions. The third stage generates the most conversation: a driving experience. Numbers do not capture what it feels like when that acceleration happens in real time, when the transmission shifts faster than instinct can track, when theoretical engineering becomes physical and overwhelming in a single second. Seeing Mat experience that, while understanding the engineering behind it, would create something entirely unique. And then there is the possibility no one can ignore: a build. It sounds unlikely, but if that trust is built over time, the conversation about what comes next becomes possible in a way it simply was not before. If a Koenigsegg ever rolls into that workshop, what gets documented will not just be content. It will be the moment the relationship between manufacturers and independent creators changes permanently. Step back from all of this for a moment, because what you are seeing here is not just a story about one package arriving at one workshop. It is a shift. The authority that once belonged exclusively to official channels is moving into the hands of individuals who have earned trust through consistency, transparency, and a willingness to do the hard work in public. The brands that recognize that early are positioning themselves for something much larger than traditional marketing ever offered. Not the loyalty of aspiration, but the loyalty of understanding, where someone respects a brand because they have seen exactly what it does and exactly why it matters. Koenigsegg did not spend millions on this moment. A package from Ängelholm, a handwritten note, a deliberate signal sent to the right person at the right time. And yet, it created attention, conversation, curiosity, and respect. So, do you see this as a genuine gesture, or one of the smartest moves in the industry right now? Because the truth is, it might be both. Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if that workshop ever sees a Koenigsegg roll through its doors, just remember, this is where it started.